Okay,
does
it
it show up
warned
on your?
me. There's a recording in progress.
Okay,
But
just
I
checking.
got it.
Okay, guys. I unfortunately my last interview got screwed up because I got the wrong. Um, I didn't upgrade my Zoom package. I accidentally got the wrong one, so I was like, "Oh God, I had to do this all over again." So everything's good now. Who the person I interviewed last week, I had to do it again since I wasn't able to capture everything. But we're good to go now. But
All right.
yeah, I saw you on, for people who don't know or anything about you or where you're from, just tell them.
Okay. Well, my name is James McGee Moore. I live in a college town. I have graduated from that college, but I still live in the town. College towns are kind of like vortexes. They suck some people in. Some people manage to escape, but some of us get stuck here. I'm a barista and manager and trainer at a local coffee shop. I'm really into cosplay and Power Rangers, and that's about it.
I did not notice the ears either until I saw you
Oh,
turn.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about Star Trek, right?
The,
That's what we're talking about.
any and everything.
No,
But
yeah,
now
my
that
friend just got me this dress at the garage sale.
since you
Sorry.
brought up Star Trek, I'm not like I'm just getting in. Are you a Star Wars fan?
Yes.
I'm just getting into Star Wars. So I want to know what different how are the Star Wars fans compared to the Star Trek fans? And I haven't seen any Star Trek stuff,
Fans
so
or the franchise?
break well both.
Both. Well, the key difference between Star Wars and Star Trek is very, very simple. Star Trek is about explorers who use science and think through problems, and Star Wars is about conflict with governments. It's about war, it's about rebellions, it's about new governments that are oppressive. So one is a science exploration team, and the other is mostly centered around rebels fighting an oppressive government. I would say in the fandoms, I have not encountered any toxic individuals in the Star Trek fandom. I think Star Trek, since it's about collaboration and a team and discovering things and thinking through problems, a lot of the fans are just really polite and wonderful and nice to be around. Star Wars has a lot of like childlike people in the fandom, a lot like the Power Rangers fandom, people that just want to enjoy something fun, and they can get really excited about it and learn all about it. But it does have just a smidge of toxic individuals who want to argue ridiculous points and like try to insult people about the canon and bring up moot points and say things that aren't true and be generally annoying. But you get that with any fandom. It just has really stood out to me with the Star Wars fandom in recent years because they started introducing more female characters and more people of color. And then, of course, the toxic individuals just really start to announce themselves, make a lot of noise. So,
Oh my God, yes, because recently I've never made that more prevalent during I never saw that more prevalent during the Obi-Wan series when they were coming after the black actress.
yep.
Uh, the I can't remember the actor's name. He plays Obi-Wan. He was saying if you're doing that,
Ewan McGregor. His name is Ewan McGregor.
yes,
Or
yes.
unless you're talking about the older Obi-Wan. I was talking about the guy who's playing him in the current series. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Ewan McGregor. He was saying if you do that, you're not a Star Wars fan, and they even did that with the actor that played Jar Jar Binks in the prequels. They death threats, and he had suicidal thoughts because of it.
Yep. Yeah. Things that are very popular can get really toxic because they then involve a lot of people. And if you involve a lot of people, some of them are bound to be not nice.
Right. So what I'm not really I'm currently watching the Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I haven't seen The Mandalorian yet. I heard it's really good. Haven't seen any of the newer films yet. Are the newer films worth watching? Because I heard they're basically like remakes of the original.
Well, yeah, they are. They pretty much follow the same plot line as the original films. They're very like nostalgic centered. It's playing off of your enjoyment of the first three films to be released. You're going to want to watch these because they're very similar. But I think that they're worth your time because they're just really fun. There are some plot holes and some things that do drag on a little bit, particularly in the second one, which would be the eighth one, I guess. But overall, I enjoyed them. I thought that they were fun and they still used a lot of practical effects and costuming, which is something that I really nerd out about. So I enjoy seeing that kind of stuff. I like a lot of the actors in them. Yeah, no, I think that they're worth your time. They're not like epically life altering, amazing films, but they're more Star Wars films and they're fun and I enjoyed them. So
Yeah, I think it's from just what I've seen from the trailers and everything, it seems like it's more of a seems like those films are more like popcorn flicks as opposed to like storytelling like the
yeah,
original Star Wars.
yeah, definitely. They're much more like popcorn movies. They're basically entertainment fluff.
Right. And some fans were mixed on the Obi-Wan series. I mean, how did you feel about it personally?
I didn't watch the Obi-Wan series yet. I've been very busy, and it's hard for me to get into a series typically because I just want to go home at the end of the night, watch a film, feel that feeling of resolution that, it's I've completed something and then I can go to bed and go to work the next day. So I don't often get into a series because you can get into that situation where you watch like two episodes before bed and one of them's a cliffhanger. And then you're like, oh no, I have to stay up late, or you just think about it all day the next day. So I have I have a very delicate conscience when it comes to stress and anxiety. So I am going to watch it, but it's probably going to be over the weekend. I'll probably binge it over the weekend sometime when I have a whole weekend to myself.
Right. I completely understand because some people like to watch if a series is out that doesn't release everything all at once, they release it weekly. Some people prefer it weekly just so they can talk about it and see everyone else's opinions, but other people like it released maybe wait until everything's released so they can all watch it at once just to get a general sense about it. Is that how you are with series?
Mostly, I mean, I enjoy watching some things as they come out. Typically, if I'm watching with other people, so if something is coming out and I'm watching an episode every week, and then like two of my friends are doing the same thing, then it gives us something to talk about. But I can't really do that with more than one show at a time because then again, like if I'm stressed out about one cliffhanger and I was watching two shows and there were two cliffhanger episodes, that would just wreck my whole week.
Right. I completely understand. So with your cosplaying a lot, I see a lot of your cosplaying on TikTok and it's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get into cosplaying?
Um, I have been into cosplay since I was little. The first cosplay I ever did was Poison Ivy from the Batman and Robin movie. I was 4 years old and I was obsessed with Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. So my mother helped me like cut leaves out to put around my eyes out of like construction paper, and we made like a wig out of the little like chimney cleaner things, little wire things with the
Yeah.
bristles on them. We made like a red thing out of those for a wig. And my love of it has been my whole life. It kind of went away for a while during my teen years. I was like, well, I have to dress cool or like try to fit in. You have that whole crisis of
Right.
self where you're trying to do what everyone else is doing. And then when I started going to college in my later teens, I realized that I could like pick an outfit out the night before and just wear whatever I wanted all day long. And that became like a real joy in my life of just like putting together outfits and thinking about like color palettes and color combinations and how to layer things and make them look cool. And then I started to get back into cosplay because I was like, well, I can wear like a tutu and rainbow stockings, or I could dress up like a Powerpuff Girl all day. So I started accumulating cosplays. That'd be about like 10 years ago now. And now I have a whole closet full of them. I have like 50 or 60 cosplays, and I try to wear them recurringly. I usually do like one day a week at work. I wear a cosplay, which is what I did today.
That's pretty dope. And that's a lot. I know I'm trying to get into cosplay myself. I've never done it. So for anyone who hasn't cosplayed and is looking to get into it, what advice would you have? Because from what I've seen, that's pretty intimidating for someone that's just getting into cosplaying.
Definitely. You can get intimidated by cosplays that are really complicated, something you feel like you can't make yourself, and then you think you have to buy it, and they're very expensive. What kind of clicked in my brain and started me on this road of just like doing everything, I wanted to have like a Han Solo inspired outfit. I was like, Han Solo's cool and he always looks cool, and it'd be fun to do a day where I kind of dress like Han Solo. So I Googled images of him to be like, what kind of shapes does he have? What kind of jackets? What kind of color palette? And I quickly realized that you can do a Han Solo cosplay so easily. He's just wearing like a white shirt that has the little half button thing, a blue vest, and blue jeans with a red stripe on the side. And that's it. That's his outfit. And I was like, well, I could get all that stuff on Amazon and have it in like 5 days and then just have like a straight up Han Solo cosplay. It wouldn't even be like a Han Solo-ish. It would just be Han Solo. So I started doing that. I found that some costumes that are simpler, you can get pieces and put them together and make something that looks really similar, like the Powerpuff Girls. They're just wearing like a colored tube dress with a black belt and white socks and black shoes, and then whatever color hair they have. So it's really easy to do something like that without getting into like, if you like anime characters or video game characters, that stuff gets really complicated with like some cosplayers will do a huge foam build. They build like all this armor on their arm, and that kind of stuff takes a lot of skill and it's very intimidating. But a lot of like TV show characters and fantasy movie characters have a color palette and kind of a general shape that you can say, oh, well, if I had a long sleeve red shirt and I like cut a couple lines in it, and then I got like a short black wig, I would look just like that character really easily. So I think just starting off simple is a good way to go. And I also have found that fabric glue and fabric paint are relatively cheap and so easy to use. If you have fabric glue, you can just like glue a patch onto a shirt or like glue two things together to make them something. And you don't have to have a sewing machine. You don't have to know how to sew. You can do all kinds of stuff. Like I did an Elsa cosplay, and she has the train on her dress with all the diamonds on it. And I just like cut out a bunch of fabric diamonds and glued them to the dress. And that made it so easy and like less time consuming, but it looks totally great. And then fabric paint, like you could just get a white shirt and paint a design on it. And then you don't have to worry about getting something that is like, has all this detailed sewing or stitching on it. So yeah, just keeping it simple is more effective than you think it is.
Right. That seems like a lot of hard work, but also a lot of fun. Because usually when you do something that you love, it doesn't feel like you're working.
Yes, I've really kind of spiraled out of control. I started with the simple, like, well, I'll just buy these three things, then together I look like Han Solo. And now I'm like, well, all I have to do is get like this jacket and cut it in half and glue it to this other jacket. And I do have a sewing machine now, and I'm gonna put some rhinestones on one arm. That's easy, right? It just
Right.
like has become this very time consuming thing where I have these ideas. I'm like, no, that's super simple, but then it's not.
And so, where'd you learn how to sew from, and how long does it usually take you to sew something together? And if you're like, say, if you're generally missing something from a cosplay outfit, what do you do to compromise in that situation?
I learned to sew from my mother. She liked to sew. She would do it with her sister when she was little. So she taught me how to do it. And I was really into hand sewing, which is very time consuming. It's really useful if you have like a button come off of something, or if you have a little tiny hole. But hand sewing is really like very time consuming. And then when I went to college, I had a minor in theater, and they have you take a whole bunch of different classes. And one of them was the costume design class for the theater programs, where you actually learn how to use a sewing machine and make costumes for the production. So that was kind of revolutionary, because hand sewing, if you want to make a t-shirt's two pieces of fabric that you just have one seam around the edge. It's a very simple design. But if you're going to hand sew that, it's going to take, 20 hours or something, doing the whole thing by hand. With a sewing machine, you can do that in like 20 minutes. So you just like pin it together and whoop, done. So I typically, when I make a cosplay piece, if I were to dedicate all of my time to it, I can finish one in about 5 days, just working on it at night. So probably like all together, like 6 or 8 hours to make anything complicated. If I paint something, I have to let it dry, or if I'm making something from scratch, sewing it together. But I pretty much sew every day. This had long sleeves, and I sewed the sleeves last night. I just cut the sleeves off at the same length and then like folded them over and hemmed them on my sewing machine. And that took me 15, 20 minutes.
I couldn't even tell.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at it. But that's the other thing, is like, people aren't really like trained to see hand sewing or like look for flaws in things. So it's really easy to get in your own head and say like, oh, well, I glued diamonds across this thing and one of them's a little crooked and everyone's going to notice. No one notices. If you have like something that you've painted part of it and glued some stuff to it, people just like see it and think it looks cool. No one ever sees something that you've made and thinks like, oh yeah, one of those diamonds is crooked and there's one part where the paint's not thick enough. They're just like, oh, that shirt's really cool. And you're like, I made it. And they're like, really? Awesome. Right.
So with going to how exactly did you get into going into these conventions?
I haven't actually ever been to a convention.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, that's a weird one. I have really, really poor time management skills. So there's a big convention in the city that's right up from the town I live in. And they do it every year. And every year I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to that this year. When is it? And I look it up, and it was last month. And then I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to go next year. And then the exact same thing happens next year. I'm like, when is it? Okay, it was last month. I already missed it. And that's happened about 5 or 6 years in a row. So actually, I'm going to Power Morphicon in Pasadena, California in August. And that's going to be my first convention, which is going to be interesting because it's a huge convention. So it's an interesting start off.
I wanted to go so bad last time. I was actually trying to talk my cousin. My cousin is aware of Power Rangers, but he's not a huge fan as I am. But I wanted to go so bad, but when they canceled it, I was like, because of COVID, I was just so disappointed and heartbroken.
Yeah.
So who are you going with?
I'm actually going with my mother. I was planning on going alone, but then she got really excited. She was like, well, hold on, I want to go with you. So we're going to go together. We're going for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's a bunch of people that I have met through TikTok in the Power Rangers community that I'm actually going to hang out with over the weekend. One of my friends, Mischief Mowgli on TikTok, he's going to meet up with me on Saturday, and we're going to spend the whole day together. And then I have the Phantom Ranger 19 something. I don't remember there's 4 numbers at the end. One of the Phantom Rangers on TikTok. We're going to meet up, I think, Saturday night. He's going to be there with like some D&D friends, and we're going to go grab a drink and talk about whatever. So I'm really excited to actually meet some of the people who I've become friends with online.
And that's probably the best part, is when you have interactions online with people that have the same interests as you, and when you meet them in person, it's just like 10 times as better.
Yep. Yeah, I would say like no one, well, there's actually one person I just met in the town I'm in who knows about Power Rangers. He actually has a Jungle Fury tattoo on his arm. He saw I was wearing a Power Ranger shirt and he was like, "Oh, Power Rangers." I was like, "You like Power Rangers?" And he showed me his arm. I was like, "Oh my God, Jungle
Yeah.
Fury is so great." But other than that one guy, I would say probably in my geographical location, the only people who even know what Power Rangers is know because I told them. So
Wow.
I like have never had the opportunity to really talk to someone about it in person. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and you know what's speaking of, and since we're talking about Power Rangers, what was the very first Power Ranger season that you watched? Because when I was a kid, I grew up during the Disney era, and the first season I watched was SPD, and I remember I had
Nice.
the hugest crush on the Pink Ranger. So, what was your first um Power Ranger season that you grew up on?
So I didn't get into Power Rangers until like 5 years ago. And the first season that I watched was Power Rangers Dino Charge. I'm not really sure how I landed on picking that one. That was when it was still all on Netflix. So I could have started with any season. But I don't know. I just kind of vibed with Dino Charge. And that definitely, that instinct worked out well. That is still my favorite season. I just love the huge team and all of the personal interactions between all of the characters. Character development and character interactions are kind of my favorite part of Power Rangers. So like Time Force and RPM and Ninja Storm and Dino Charge are probably my favorite seasons, and Beast Morphers. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so I started with Dino Charge and I watched all of it. And then I was like, well, if that was awesome, then probably some of the other ones were awesome. So I ended up watching Ninja Steel and then Time Force. And then I was like, well, I just have to watch all of this. So I've
Right.
been working on watching all of it when I get home at night from work. I've slowed down considerably in the last year or two because I've been taking time to talk to people about it on TikTok. So I'm not just constantly sitting by myself binging Power Rangers, but I'm getting really close. I'm watching Lost Galaxy right now. Um, so I only have Wild Force, Samurai, Operation Overdrive, and Mega Force left, and then I will have watched all of it.
Oh, whew, let me tell you something. Those Neil Saban eras were tough to sit through. Like, uh,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
know.
gonna. That almost, I almost stopped watching Power Rangers probably after either Super Mega Force or Super Ninja Steel or Ninja Super. The titles are confusing. I mean, stop adding super to everything. Um,
Yeah, the supers are a little odd. Why couldn't you just say season two?
right, right. Uh, but that may those seasons made me question my love for Power Rangers anymore because they were writing the characters so poorly. And if we did get team up episodes, they weren't that great. I mean, the only one that I enjoyed before the Beast Morphers team up was Dimensions of Danger.
Oh, I really like Dimensions in Danger. I've probably watched it like 5 times. And since I've been watching the show out of order, the first time I watched Dimensions in Danger, the only Ranger I recognized was Coda because that was the second season that I watched was Ninja Steel. And then going back and watching other seasons and then going back and watching it again has been like enormously fun because every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, look who that is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I like that episode a lot.
Yeah, and that's the and in my opinion, if you're gonna do an anniversary episode with a bunch of Rangers, you should make it either an hour long or multiple parts.
Yeah, it is pretty quick. It could be longer for sure.
Like one of my favorite Rangers is he was in the anniversary episode and he actually draws a lot of comparison to Tommy, which is Trent.
Yep,
And I don't know, have you seen Dino Thunder yet?
I have. Yeah.
Yes, he reminds me so much of Tommy. You know, they were both White Rangers, they were both evil.
Hmm.
Um, they both had a clone. You know, there's a lot of similarities to that. And I think that's probably why Dino Thunder is my favorite season because it's like um, a modern day version of MMPR.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, Dino Thunder is my least favorite season. I'm sorry. I love Trent and Anton, and their relationship is amazing. The whole like one's evil and one's not. I love that Tommy's in it again. I like the age diversity in the Ranger team, and I love Trent and Tommy's relationship, where Tommy's like, I've been evil before, but I just really don't like the three main Rangers, Connor
What?
and Kira and Ethan. Yeah, no, Connor says some rather tasteless, misogynistic things in that season, and it really turned me off him as a character. And I just feel like Ethan's a cardboard cutout. He's like he could be a robot that just says computers every time the camera points at him. Computers, computers. I just yeah, no, I feel like they're not super well written or interesting. So I need to watch that one again because I also really love the human antagonistic characters, the woman that wants to be a reporter and her friend, and their plot arc is one of my favorites for the non-alien villains. Just like
Yeah.
watching them grow as people, I feel like was really evenly done as opposed to some seasons like the human antagonists are just kind of like crappy, 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 crappy. And then they learn a lesson right at the end, tied up with a bow. But these guys like actually go on an arc that's really believable. But yeah, the three main characters just kind of killed that show for me.
I respectfully I disagree.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I totally respect anyone that's their favorite season. It's just I can't agree with them.
only because you know Operation Overdrive and the Neil Saban seasons. I'm like, man, what was he
Well,
thinking? Because a lot of the
granted, I have not watched Operation Overdrive or Megaforce, which means that they could still become last place once I've seen them.
Operation Overdrive. Okay, I'm not gonna say or spoil anything. The only thing I liked about that season was you know how when you're a kid you like a TV show or a movie,
Mm.
but when you go back and watch it when you get older, you're like, why was I interested in this?
Uh-huh.
That's how
I
I feel about Operation Overdrive. Yeah,
okay. That makes sense.
because um the the problem with the season, once again, I'm not going to spoil anything because you haven't seen it yet, but they essentially wanted a different version of the season that they got, but Disney just told them just they just gave them a low budget and was just like just use Sentai footage, and
Mm.
that's what hurt the show. And plus, the characters weren't even interesting.
Yeah. I'm really curious to watch that one because I have had like overwhelming, I would say like 97% of Power Rangers fans are like, yeah, that season sucks. And then there's like 3% that are really, they're on that hill and they're like, no, I love this season. It's cute and it's fun and it's my favorite. And I'm like, I respect you guys. And I'm super fucking curious if that's going to be how I feel about it. Because I've been that person before that's like, no, no, I love this one. Yes, I know it's terrible, but I love it. So we're going to see how that pans out.
Well, I will say I would rather go back and watch that than go back and watch any of the Neil Saban season, except for Dino Charge. That was really great. But the what'd you think of the series finale of Dino Supercharged with Dinosaurs? Because that confused me.
I liked it. I feel like that show it didn't wrap up super well. Like they concluded everything and they finished it all off, but it seemed to wrap up really quickly and kind of the wrap up felt a little like it was pandering. I mean, they spend the whole season working on like
Get away from the door. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That
no,
was my
no, you're
niece.
good. They spend the whole season working on like Coda's emotional development and having to deal with like being separated from his past and dealing with that emotional trauma and like getting over it and loving his new friends as like a family and they're his new clan. And then they've gone through all that work for 2 seasons of developing his character and dealing with his trauma and getting him to a good place. Then at the end of the season finale, they were like, what should we do with Coda? Send him back to his family. That'll be great. And I'm like, okay, you just pulled this out of your butt. Like, he gets to go back to the time he's from. And then it just totally nullifies all of the work that we did on his character. Like, having a time traveling character, you're either working on that character being okay with being displaced from their time period, or you're working on getting that character back to their time period. And I feel like they spent the whole season working on getting him comfortable with being displaced. And then in the last episode, they were like, we're going to send him back. And so I just feel like a lot of the themes in the show kind of fell on their face like that. Like they spent all this time working on a bunch of stuff. And then at the end, it was like, then they go back in time. Dinosaurs are real, and it's over. And I was like, okay, that I feel slightly dissatisfied with the end of this show, but whatever you guys wanted to do. So I don't know. I feel like it could have been written a little better, taken a little more time to finish. It just feels really abrupt. I do still like, it is still my favorite season and I love it, but I was definitely dissatisfied after I watched the season finale.
Right, because a lot of fans had a lot of questions after that. They were like, wait a minute, so does that mean MMPR and Dino Thunder didn't happen? Or if Dinosaurs are still alive, that's why during Ninja Steel they brought the heads back and they had to acknowledge in Dimensions of Danger that Dino Charge is in a separate universe because they realized, hey, we screwed up. Fans are on us. So what do you think of the whole multiverse thing and them finally acknowledging that there are actually separate universes in the Power Rangers universe?
I really like that. I really enjoyed when Mick and Nick showed up in Dino Fury, because I like the idea that any character from any previous season could show up and just kind of casually be like, oh, I've been on a mission for the collaborative of Rangers, and this is what I'm working on right now. Hi, I used to be a Power Ranger too, or be involved with Power Rangers somehow. So I think that it really opens up fun possibilities for more character crossovers, and putting slightly less effort into character crossovers too. I mean, now that we know that there's this like entity that Time Force has created, this like conglomerate of other Ranger teams or old Ranger teams, anyone could show up and just be like, oh, well, I came from them. And we won't have to be like, well, if someone from Ninja Storm shows up, we have to explain how they got their Morpher back, and we have to explain how they got where they are and why they knew to go there. So instead of like taking all the time that it would take to explain something like that, you just be like, oh, well, someone from Ninja Storm has a Master Morpher and they just showed up because they're on a mission. And I think that's going to make it a lot easier to do more frequent crossovers. And I love character crossovers, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Right. So, and crossovers, I don't know how many you've seen so far.
Most of them.
Okay, so which ones would you say are your favorite and least favorite?
So I haven't seen Megaforce, so I've seen that scene where everybody shows up. I don't really believe in spoilers. People tag me and stuff all the time, and I just watch it, and then I'll still be excited about it when I end up seeing it in the show. And I know they do the crossover in Operation Overdrive with Kira and Tori and Xander and Adam and Bridge. Yeah. And I also haven't seen Forever Red. So I'm really looking forward to Forever Red, but I wanted to watch all 10 of the seasons before that one, or 9 of the seasons before that one, before I watched it, because I wanted to know all the Red Rangers, and I knew that it was in Wild Force. So I've been like trying to get through all of the original seasons. Favorite crossover episode, character team up. I mean, Dimensions in Danger. It's just like candy. There's like so many Rangers, and it's so exciting to see all of them, and it's just like a really good time. Least favorite crossover, trying to think. I mean, they basically did a crossover every season up until like Mystic Force. I don't know if there is such a thing as a least favorite crossover. I'm thinking about it like every time a Ranger team was with another Ranger team, it's great. It's just great.
Right.
There's more Rangers and they'll say
Right.
things to each other. I mean, I guess least favorite crossover episode would be in RPM when Ziggy comes out of Jungle Karma Pizza and you're like, no, it's not enough. That's a building, not a Ranger.
Right.
I still appreciate the nod to the previous season, but come on, there was Sentai footage of those two teams together, so I feel like they should have done a crossover. But yeah, no, anytime there's a combination of Rangers together, I just get really excited. I'm a big sucker for nostalgia. I even like the crossover episode where Justin comes back in Power Rangers in Space in his turbo blue suit. I just like it. They make the joke about how he and TJ are both blue, and they're like, who are you? Oh, who are you? Oh, we're both the Blue Ranger. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Justin. He doesn't really bother me that much.
Right. And it's I'd probably say my favorite was definitely the Ninja Storm Dino Thunder team up. That one
Nice. Yeah.
incredible, especially the morph sequence with all 11 of them together.
Well, that fight scene they have under the bridge is really, really good.
Yes.
Between the three sets of core team members, it's great.
Yes, and it was the first time that we actually saw two opposing Ranger teams fight each other before they officially teamed up with each other.
Yep.
And as far as the least favorite, you haven't watched it yet, but it's definitely the legendary battle. Um, they just wasted. It was a wasted potential, in my opinion, because
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
yeah,
I
it was just
watch,
like. Go
I need
ahead.
to watch the Super Sentai too, because I know everyone says like the Super Sentai of the final battle or legendary battle is actually well done. So I feel like I should probably watch that after I watch Super Mega Force.
Yeah, and you should also probably watch the all dinosaur team up, the Sentai version of that, because that one was incredible.
Right. Yeah,
So
I liked that in that was Beast Morphers, right? The Dino
yeah,
Charge team. Yeah, it's Beast Morphers. I liked that, but it did also feel a lot just kind of like slapped on, like it's a sticker and you just put the sticker on. You're just like dinosaurs, and there
right,
wasn't a whole lot going on as far as like actors returning and characters interacting with each other. I mean, I love seeing Jason again, but he didn't have a lot of conversations with people. It was just kind of like fanfare, like Jason's there. See, there he is. Look at him. I was like, well, can we get him talking to somebody or talking about what he's been doing or anything like that? And they were like, no. He's just here for 10 minutes.
well, I know that's why I was happy to see him again, but I was kind of disappointed. I was like, they could have at least gave him an unmorphed fight scene.
Yeah. Or just like a one line of dialogue about like what his job is or where he lives or just
Right.
anything.
And something else that was slightly kind of disappointing too was I would have at least gotten one of the Dino Thunder actors back because
Yeah. I was surprised they didn't get more of the dinosaur suit actors back because it seems like pretty much most of the actors that have been in Power Rangers just do like the con circuit and they make a lot of money like touring and doing panels and stuff. So I would think that any of them would be fully willing to come back on the show at any point in time. And it just kind of makes me feel like they were being cheap and they just wanted to pay somebody to wear the suit but not pay the actor to come back. And that's
right.
disappointing.
And in my opinion, going forward, I think Power Rangers should go union because if you go union, that means you can get all the Rangers to come back because a lot of the Rangers that aren't on the show anymore, they're union. And if you want some of them to come back, they would have to break their union. And if they do that, they can't work in Hollywood anymore. They're essentially like, hey, you pick them over us. And I can't remember Serena Vincent from Lost Galaxy, the
Yeah.
Yellow Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, she talked about how she almost broke her union to come back for Megaforce, but they told her no because you might get blackballed.
Yep. Yeah, Power Rangers has taken its sweet time finally joining the union. I think it was it 2017, like
Yeah,
way late. They definitely should have done that sooner.
right. And with Dino Fury, how do you feel about the current season of Dino Fury? What characters or a character stands out to you the most? I mean, what do you think overall, and what do you think is going to happen with these next 11 episodes?
So I'm halfway through season 2 of Dino Fury. I'm watching it with someone, so I can't like just binge it. We have to do it when we're together.
Yeah,
So life gets in the way, but we're gonna finish it soon. I really like the way that it's gone. I feel like it was pretty slow to start. Like the first couple episodes, it just seemed kind of like, I don't know, do I like this? Maybe. But second season has been a lot better. I think the chemistry between the characters has gotten a lot better, probably because the actors got to know each other, the writers got to know each other, everything kind of like gels in season 2 of something. Um, I really love Javi and Izzy. I
yeah,
just they're amazing, super great, well written characters that I really like associate with. I mean, a musician and like a tomboy is kind of my childhood. So my father's a musician and so am I, and I was a huge tomboy when I was younger. So I don't know if it's like bias that I just think they're superior characters, but I feel like there's a little more pizzazz in their writing. And then the other three characters seem very one dimensional. Um, I like them more in season 2, but in the first half of season 1, I thought they were kind of like robotic and simple, but then they got
right,
better. So I didn't love it at first. I really like it now. It's definitely not like competing for my favorite show, but I do like it.
right. I I agree. I'm not Zato. I think he's pretty cool. He's okay. The only ones I'm not too heavy on is Amelia and Ollie. Just because Amelia, they haven't really there aren't really a lot of focus central focus central episodes regarding
Mm,
her, and we really haven't seen a lot of her
yeah.
personality.
I
And
feel it with Ollie, they kind of said, "Oh, well, he has a mother, and that's his character development." I'm like, "Well, but that's her character development. Him interacting with her has to actually develop his character. It can't just be like he has a mom. He has to
right,
actually communicate with her." So I feel like that was an opportunity missed where they like tried to give him something other than being like a tech guy, science, very like logical brain person. They were like, "Well, he also has a mom." And then I'm like, well, but he does the exact same thing with her that he does when he's alone. It's just be like a science tech person. So it didn't really make his character more interesting.
right. I feel like he kind of reminds me of Kai from Lost Galaxy. He's kind of like the stern
Yeah, yeah.
and he's very demanding and comes off as bossy sometimes, and like he's better than everyone else, and that's kind of what I don't like about his character.
Yeah. I feel like he needed something like Kai has cooking. And I feel like
Right,
that kind of gives him like he cooks for everybody. So like he is considerate and he is nice. He does have this soft side, but he's very bossy about like who can be in the kitchen. Everything has to be made perfectly. So it still plays into his character, but it makes him slightly more relatable and slightly less like you're annoyed by him. And I think they kind of missed that with Ollie. It's like he's just always very aggressively like disappointed in everyone because he thinks he's smarter than them. And that's not super fun to watch because I'm just
right.
like, okay, well, Ollie is disappointed in everyone. Cool.
Yeah, I will say he did learn. I can't remember what episode this was, but it involved his teacher and his teacher basically telling him that being a know-it-all isn't a fun quality.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one yet.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's in season 2, I believe, but I can't remember exactly what happened, but it's about him and Amelia. And what do you think of those two together? Because they're like, it's like they're
I
near
mean,
opposites,
I
but they
it's
could work.
really obvious. I mean, episode one, they're the first two Rangers that meet. They show up in the base together. They get their powers together. And then the first like conversation they have is just like, no, I think everything you think is stupid. Well, I think everything you think is stupid. And you're like, oh, well, they're gonna be a couple,
Right,
obviously. And I mean, cliches are cliches for a reason. You know, you write things that people are familiar with that makes the audience comfortable. But I just think that one's too much of a cliche, given that they didn't feel like they had enough character development on their own. And then like the main thing that they spent a lot of their time doing was just kind of like butting heads in this very obvious we're gonna fall in love way. And it's just I don't know, it kind of dampened their ability to grow as individual characters and put them in like a corner where it's like this is what Amelia and Ollie do. They argue. One of them believes in aliens and the other one is a scientist, and that's it. I'm like,
right.
okay, cool.
Yeah, I feel like they could combine their two loves together and actually find a common interest.
Yeah.
But with the I mean, do you think we will ever see another kiss on the lips in Power Rangers history? Because we missed the mark so many times.
Yeah, no. I have a theory that there's like a no cooties law in Power Rangers because the only kisses we have ever seen were Tommy and Kimberly. And I think it was two and a half kisses between them.
Right,
And then ever since then, the show has this huge aversion to it. Like people will get right up next to each other, or they'll like kiss on the cheek, or they'll like nudge someone with their head. Um, and I feel like it's too strong of a tradition now to break. Like that's what Power Rangers is doing. They're like, no, no, no kissing. This is for teenage boys, and teenage boys are afraid of cooties. No one can kiss on the lips because that's gross. So I mean, unless there's a dramatic change to the show, I don't think that that's going to happen.
right. But now that they move on to Netflix, hopefully some things will change because I'm tired of uh well obviously a lot of things have changed since Simon what what's his name, the
Uh,
new creator, the new writer for
oh, Chaim Saban
um
or
Simon something, he took over for Chip Lynn at the Beast Morphers. He's running the current season. I can't,
oh, okay, okay, yeah, I don't know that guy's name.
but I mean, even a lot of fans were upset with Izzy when she took her skirt off and she was like, skirts aren't really my thing. I'm like, why are y'all complaining about that? She's a
I thought
tall.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people complaining there was pandering, um, but I just think that those people are annoyed that they had to watch something feminist happen, and that's the most PC way they could think of to say that. They're like, "Well, it's pandering." And I'm like,
Right.
"Well, no one had ever done it before, and a lot of women don't wear skirts, and they had to show a reason why she doesn't have a skirt on. So it's like, why not? It's
Right.
a pretty simple thing to have a character do, just to be like, oh, that explains why that one, doesn't have a skirt and the other one does. And I thought it was really cool. I was like, this is great. It's like, they didn't like get up on the soapbox and stand on it, yell about it. They just kind of did it. They were like, oh, okay, skirt's gone, and moving on.
Right.
So I really liked it.
Right. Like not all tomboys are gay. Like y'all
Yeah,
know that, right? A
yeah.
lot of tomboys can be gay, straight, bi, pan, whatever they choose to be. But and when I found out that she was gay, I saw it on Twitter before the episode came out because it came out overseas, and I was
Mm,
like, yes, we
yeah,
got one.
first canon gay ranger. Yeah, I just really hope if the show is going in a more serious direction that we get more stuff like that. I want to see, plus size rangers. I want to see male pink ranger. And I know the current season of Sentai has a male pink ranger, so it's like totally doable. I'd like to see a female red ranger lead the team for a full season and not have it be like some big thing. Just that
Yeah.
that's just what it is. So,
So, what
yeah.
are some things going forward in Power Rangers that you want to see, including the stuff you just named?
Mostly just I would like to see more inclusivity and diversity. I mean, Power Rangers actually is an incredibly diverse show, which is one of the things that I really like about it. I mean, we've had a lot more diversity in media over the last couple years, and it's so sad that it's like a big deal. Sometimes I watch a movie and I'm like, both of the people on screen are Asian and they're both important. This is amazing.
Right.
That should be commonplace, but it really hasn't been for a lot of the history of media in America. And it's becoming more of a thing. But like Power Rangers for, oh boy, has it been 30 years? Power
Yeah.
Rangers for like 30 years has had, a team of 5 people. And typically, at least 2 of them or more are people of color, and they're just as important as everyone else on the team. So I really love that about the show, but I think that they could go a little further as far as like inclusivity, just having more diversity among like not just skin tone, but like types of people. I'd like to see, an autistic person become a ranger or somebody in a wheelchair. These things would be really interesting to see because these would be cool characters, and
Yeah.
B, like awesome because then it would be inclusion. And I know that a lot of people in minorities don't get to see themselves as superheroes very often. And I think if anyone is going to do that, Power Rangers seems like they should be the one to be leading the way because they've been having, inclusive characters on their teams for 30 years. So I think they should just take it a step farther and be like, yeah, that's what's going on. The whole team is like a whole slew of people from different walks of life with different stuff going on. And they're all just Rangers. And we don't even make a big deal about it.
Right. Like, I think that's like to see everyone get so upset about Izzy coming out the closet. I was like, okay, and the reasons that they were upset were just stupid because they were just saying that what God, what were the excuses they were making? They were saying, oh, they were pandering, like you said, they were pandering, and oh, kids watch this show. Like, you guys do realize that Power Rangers has been going on for 29 years. It's just not kids watching the show anymore. The
Mm-hmm.
adults are watching it with their kids now, and they typically show their kids their favorite seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So using that as an excuse to be homophobic is just stupid to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I, yeah. Homophobia is dumb. Izzy being gay is amazing. I love her. She's one of my favorite Rangers now.
Yes, and Tessa Rio, however
I've
you pronounce
never
it.
heard anyone pronounce it. I've only read it, so I don't know.
I think it's Rio, however you pronounce her name. She is so gorgeous.
Yes, she's amazing.
Yes. Any, um, and I, I've heard a lot of females. I mean, every answer is different. I've heard a lot of guys say that Kimberly was their first crush. Um, a lot of females say Tommy was their first crush. Who was your first Power Ranger crush, male or female?
Mm, well, the first season I watched was Dino Charge, so I would say it was Riley and Chase right around the same time because they're both introduced at the same time. Um, yeah.
Okay, and they were. I think out of that season, Chase was probably my favorite character, and he's probably one of my favorite Black Rangers.
I think he has really great character development. I absolutely love any episode where he interacts with Shelby, because it seems like she really brings out his sort of like dumb self where he does insensitive things, and then he realizes that that's not cool, and he's like, oh, I just hurt Shelby's feelings. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. So I really liked his character development is very basic. It's essentially just him learning that you shouldn't say stupid, rude things to people or be a jerk. But I still really like seeing that. Like, he just keeps learning these lessons of like, oh, people don't like it when you do that. Okay, cool. Never knew that before.
Right. I feel that way, the same way about Ollie and Amelia, except the difference is that I feel like Ollie doesn't change. He's still a dick.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
hopefully, maybe, I mean, what do you think is going to happen for, I know you haven't caught up with the rest of the episodes, but what's your prediction for the season finale?
Well, I mean, I'm probably like 7 episodes away from the season finale. I mean, Lord Zed has to come back into it, right? Like, they have to defeat Lord Zed. Otherwise, that's a really interesting cliffhanger. Lord Zed's just back in the universe. I guess that'll come into play in season 30. Yeah, I don't really see them losing their powers. A lot of times Rangers lose their powers at the end of the season, but they already lost their powers at the end of season 1, and the grid just gave them back. So I kind of feel like that team has infinite access.
Right.
So I guess my prediction would be they'll probably defeat Lord Zed in the grand finale, and then they'll continue to be Rangers.
Right. Because do you read any of the Boom Studio comics?
I don't. I have a hard time with things that are more mature content. Again, fragile disposition. I get upset really easily. It's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to Power Rangers, because like, no matter what, I know it's going to be okay by the end of the episode. Like, if they're like, oh no, so-and-so is poisoned and there's a bomb and it's going to go off and we can't find it, I'm like, yeah, you guys are going to find the bomb and you're going to find the antidote and everything's going to be fine. I'm not even worried. But I know in the comic books that, you know, characters do turn evil, and there's more mature content and more adult situations. There's death and there's betrayal and there's all this stuff going on, and I just can't handle that.
Right.
I just like seeing the characters that I love and have this like puffy popcorn fluff feeling about in adult situations where they're like, you killed my friend and then you betrayed me, so now we're enemies. That would upset me really badly. So I know of the comic books and I generally know like what happens in them, but I haven't read any of them.
Right. It seems as if since the Ninja Steel seasons, they're incorporating more of the Boom Studios comics inside the shows to actually confirm that they're canon to the like Dimensions in Danger. They confirmed that Tommy and Catherine was married.
Yep, and they have a son named JJ.
Right.
And then also the Morphin Masters being in Dino Fury, they were originally introduced in the comic books, right? And then they became very popular, so they decided to put them in the show.
Yes. And I tend to I love asking people this question just to get a general sense of what they think. But which did you prefer, Jason as the leader and Tommy as the Sixth Ranger, or the other way around in Zeo?
So that's a really hard question. I really, really love Jason as a leader because he really shows how much he cares about the team. Like in the episode where Lord Vile sends them to the island of like nightmares where their fears become real, everyone's like, oh, they're afraid of fighting monsters or disappearing or whatever. What Jason is afraid of is having let everyone down and having failed as a leader. And he's like worried about everyone else. And I feel like that is a constant thing with his character, feeling like he really genuinely cares about everyone else. So I love him as a leader. But at the same time, when Jason was the leader and Tommy was the Sixth Ranger, it seemed kind of like everything was like about Tommy. There's a lot more Tommy centric plot episode arcs, and he's kind of like stealing the thunder very frequently because he's the evil guy and he's interesting and he's the new guy in town, so he gets a lot of attention, and Jason doesn't really get as much after Tommy's introduced in the show. So I actually think that I liked it more when Tommy was the leader of Zeo and Jason was the Sixth Ranger. But because since Tommy already had the leadership position, his character was getting enough attention from the audience that the writers didn't feel the need to kind of like shove him in your face constantly, because he was already the Red Ranger. He's already getting plenty of screen time. So I felt like Jason really got a lot more screen time and individualism and wasn't as much kind of like washed over by Tommy, because he was the new guy and he needed his time on screen instead of just kind of being covered up by Tommy being the Sixth Ranger.
Right. And I definitely agree with you. And I feel like they definitely made up for it in Zeo, because it doesn't really feel like I love Jason a lot more as the Golden Ranger as opposed to the Red Ranger. And as far as Tommy, I think the best version of him was Dino.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I know there are rumors going out there about a possible. I've recently seen a lot of people talk about the 2017 movie, and I didn't realize how many people actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I mean, there are faults with it, but I thought it was still enjoyable. But overall, what did you think? And do you think that we could still get a sequel, or what's your position on that?
Well, I think a sequel is probably very unlikely because it really didn't make a lot of money. And I feel like Haim Saban is very driven by, whether or not something could do well financially. So I just don't think anyone's going to try to rekindle that. And if someone really wants to make another Power Rangers movie, undoubtedly they will just pretend that one never happened, get a whole new cast, and start over. So I doubt that we'll get a sequel to that one with the same cast. But as for my opinion of the movie, I love just like simple action movies. So if you're looking at it as a simple action movie, I really liked it. It's enjoyable. It's got a fun cast of characters. Some fun stuff happens. The villain's interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit weak writing wise, but overall, if I were just recommending like, oh, that's a fun action movie, I would definitely recommend it to someone. When you say it's a Power Rangers movie, it becomes a little bit more disappointing because I think some of the key aspects of Power Rangers weren't really included in the film, like just more general fights. They really only fight right at the end, and they don't have any real like out of suit fights. They show a little bit in the montage of them fighting the putties when they're training, but Power Rangers has lots of just sort of general encounters. Oh, there are putties on the playground and you just fight them just for shits and giggles. We're just going to have a little fight scene right here. And I think that aspect of like fun choreography and real like fights with real people is something that's really special about Power Rangers. And the movie got a lot more into like grand digital things, grand gestures, big things. And they really were treating it like they were going to have a sequel. So they waited until the very end to get the suits. And I always think about like the 1995 movie that they suit up like in the first 10 minutes of that movie. Like they knew what the audience wanted. They're like, okay, jump out of a plane, rollerblading. Like there's some people in costumes. Okay, we got an out of suit fight and immediately a suit fight. And you're just like, okay, the first 12 minutes of this film have been like eating a candy bar. It's everything that you could ever possibly want. And I think that the 2017 movie could have benefited as far as pleasing the fandom from doing a little bit more of that. But I do really, really love Billy in the 2017 movie. And I know that's what everyone says, but like the amount that he is amazing in that movie, he's like top shelf. I mean, blasphemous as it may be to say, I think I like that Billy more than David Yost, which is really sad because David Yost is like one of my favorite Power Rangers actors, and Billy is like one of my favorite Power Rangers. But just like the detail and the character development and the intricacy of Billy in the 2017 movie and how good a job the actor does, and his character arc, and having all the other characters, you know, fall in love with him and then be willing to sacrifice everything for him at the end. Like, that movie makes me cry every time I watch it. Just that one character really has it. The other characters are all good too, but I just think with that one, they really hit it out of the park.
Right. I think they put more focus on red, blue, and pink, and yellow and black were just kind of like there. No disrespect to them, but it just seemed like they didn't put as much focus into the yellow and black Rangers as opposed to the red, blue, and pink.
I also was a little disappointed. Like, Power Rangers 1993, Mighty Morphin, when it first came out, one of the things I really like about it is that Jason's a karate instructor and Kimberly's a gymnast. Like, it's so easy to have Jason be a football player and Kimberly be a cheerleader, and those are your go-tos when you're writing something. Oh, football player, cheerleader. But they went in a different route, and that made the characters more interesting. Like that, well, he teaches karate. That gives him, he cares about kids. He's trying to teach people self-defense. That's more than just like the sort of easy thing to fall into with a football player, is like the toxic masculinity, you know, has to please everybody, all the pressure they're under. It's all about them. Jason's character was very much about other people. So I felt really disappointed that they just said, oh, well, he's a football player and she's a cheerleader in the 2017 movie. Because I feel like that's too easy. And to like go back to those archetypes after we had already seen more interesting archetypes was kind of disappointing.
Right. So, well, what did you think of Beast Morphers being like a direct sequel to RPM then? Because some people, I thought it was a step up from the Neil Saban seasons, and I was like, why? Since Hasbro has it, I was a little skeptical because the previous seasons weren't as good. Like the last great season we got was RPM. Dino Charge was pretty good, but everything else was lackluster. So I felt Beast Morphers was kind of like their redemption. But what did you think of Beast Morphers and its sequel to RPM?
I absolutely love Beast Morphers. I think it's probably one of my top 5 or 6 favorite seasons. I love all of the characters. I think they did a really good job making all of the characters interesting enough and having interesting relationships with each other. And they don't really put anybody on the back burner. Like, everyone gets their episodes, and it feels like they cycle through episodes that center on one character. Um, I really love the diverse characters on the team. I absolutely love that the general leading Grid Battle Force is an Indian woman. That is amazing.
Right.
A woman of color is the like general leading everyone. That was a big deal to me. And I just also really like, a lot of times when you have a ranger that has a general as a parent, um, the general kind of falls flat as a parent because they're more focused on like taking care of their thing. Like the colonel in RPM, everybody talks about like how he's such a great dad, and I'm like, he's really not. He's
Yeah.
a great colonel. He's like, really, he's keeping everybody alive. He's good at his job. He's very focused. He's accomplished. He's a cool dude and he's a good dude. He's not really a good dad. He's not there for his kid. He's not understanding. They don't communicate well. They kind of like have resolution to their relationship throughout the season, but it's kind of like awkward and clunky. But then like I really felt like the mom, Ravi's mom, has moments where she is actually a good parent and she does communicate well and like understand that he's different than maybe she wanted or expected, and she accepts him. Um, while I do think it's a terrible cliche to have every character have a parent who's an important person in town, the general, the leader of the the news reporter and the mayor. I do really like that though. Like that really plays to like every character is directly linked to this important tight knit little centered thing of characters. And so we're going to get all the information. It's all connected. Yeah, no, I like all the characters. I like how they interact. I think it's fairly exciting and fun. And I really like the villains. As far as it being a direct sequel to RPM, I loved seeing Dr. K again and having changed so much and matured that she is comfortable with herself and like has dealt with her demons. Like, because when we see her in RPM, she is really like in the throes of trauma. She is struggling with her trauma and her regret and all of her loss and being a survivor of the apocalypse. Then we see her in Beast Morphers and she is like recovered from all of that. And I thought that was really cool because a lot of times we don't get completed resolution for Power Rangers that have issues. Like at the end of the show, they usually wrap it up and they say, oh, these guys are going to be okay. And I'm like, are they? Because in like a couple months, maybe they'll have like another breakdown or something like that. But then like we see Dr. K, we're like, oh, well, she's fine. She figured it out. She sorted out all of her issues. She feels like comfortable and confident now. So I like that. I don't know if I liked them bringing back Vinjex as a villain because it kind of opens up this spiraling thing of like, he'll just keep coming back. I mean, like, there's no scenario in which you couldn't be like, well, this is Vinjex. He's back again. He's in everything. We can't kill him. So, I mean, it was fun, but I also feel like I'm just constantly going to be like, that's broken? Is it because of Vinjex? Is he in that too?
Right. And I think with with Beast Morphers, ever since Beast Morphers, I'm glad that we're kind of seeing the parents being involved more. Even with Dino Fury, we're seeing all of their parents, and I like how they're giving the Rangers more interactions with their parents because before you never saw that. And if you did, it was kind of like a couple episodes a season.
Mm-hmm.
So with the I know a lot of fans were kind of like you said, a lot of fans were like iffy on the whole Vengeance twist, but the whole daddy issue, the whole Red Ranger daddy issue is just so tiresome that I mean they've done it in Time Force, RPM, Mystic Force, Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, and Beast Morphers. That's 6 seasons with 6 Rangers, 6 Red Rangers with daddy issues. I
Yep.
mean, it's not gonna stop.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that's just a good trope. It's a way to like develop a leader, to give them like a crisis of self that has to do with their parents. They have to overcome and be confident in themselves, and then they learn to be a better leader. But it is definitely played. I think they should probably stop doing it.
Right. Like Beast Morphers, I think that Robbie was definitely a way better leader than um wait
Devin.
Robbie was definitely a better leader, a more qualified leader than Devin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because it just felt like I don't know, it just didn't feel right having Devin being the leader.
Yeah, I've heard people complain about Devin being the leader. And I think all of those complaints are valid. I'm okay with him as the leader. But I mean, yeah, he does come from just like he's a rich kid who likes to play video games. It's kind of a lackluster background to see as a leader. They have one episode where they establish that for whatever reason, Zoe and Robbie can't do it because Devin is like thinking about the team, thinking about other people, and the two of them are just focused on being the best. I think it probably could have used a little more development, a little more. I mean, he could have developed over the course of the seasons, but he doesn't really. It's like he gets the leadership position in that one episode, and then any of his development is more about him as an individual ranger rather than him as a leader. And
Right.
I kind of feel I like going back to like Time Force, like Wes's development. I feel like he kind of gets put in the leadership position, but like Jen is leading the team because she's more qualified. And then he really kind of earns everyone's respect towards the end of the season, because when we see Alex come back and try to take over, everybody's like, we like Wes more. He cares about us and he's nice to us and he listens to us. So I like that like shows he's actually learned some things about being a part of a team, whereas I feel like Devin doesn't have that same level of development. There's never really a time where you get towards the end of season 2 where you're like, ah, yes, Devin really cares about everyone and is really seeing the team and hearing the team and like being a good leader. He mostly just he becomes the leader and then he is the leader. So I think that's what a lot of people were missing, is really just that extra little bit. If he had just had like one more episode, like end of season 1, beginning of season 2, where it was like, ah, yes, he hears everyone. He's there for them. He is actually a good leader. But it kind of just, those are their positions that we put them in and they will stay there. So.
Right. And to bring this all together and the close things out before, I want to know, okay, what do you want to see for the 30th anniversary? Do you want to see an animated series? I've heard there's rumors about that. Possibly something in original live action. Um, the adapting Super Sentai is still questionable. What do you want to see for the 30th anniversary?
I love the live action aspect. I'm a huge practical effects nerd. I mean, I like an animated thing, but I mean, like kung fu movies and practical effects are my jam. So having a show where there are costumes and there are like monster effects and they play with like camera angles to make things, like every time the monster grows, just a camera at someone's feet and they do this, I love that stuff, playing with angles, having miniatures. And I love to see the real fight choreography between, real people and stunt actors. So I really hope they keep it live action. I might be a little disappointed if they go animated, but that's okay. There is a lot more they can do with animated. I know why some people are really wanting that, because it really opens up the possibility of things you can accomplish, because, if with animated, the world is your oyster. I also really hope that they have been cut off from Super Sentai. I know that it's like kind of a rumor, but maybe it's really happening. But I think that would give the show a real opportunity to grow. Of course, they could fall flat on their face and say, oh, we've been cut from Super Sentai, but we're going to keep doing the same thing. But I think that's where the opportunity is to have, like, you could design a Red Ranger with a skirt, or you could design a Pink Ranger without a skirt, or you could have a plus size stunt person in one of the actual Ranger costumes, not just like, because in Sentai, they've had plus size people as the actor, but then when they transform into the suit, they're a different person and obviously a different shape. I like to see having like the people in the suits look different, and not having to use that footage from Super Sentai allows them to really curate what the suits look like to what the actors and characters in the show are like. So I'd really like to see that. And I mean, I'd love to see a reunion happen. I think it'd be really cool to do a season where they brought back all of the Mighty Morphin team. I know there's a lot of like issues with that, like Austin St. John's and Jason David Frank won't do anything together. Obviously, Dewey Drang can't come back because she has passed away. But I do think having characters from previous seasons come back and be there for the whole season instead of for just an episode or an arc would be really cool. Even if they're just in the mentor position, I would really like to see some of the old Rangers come back for a full season. So yeah.
I think the Austin St. John JDF thing, I think they should just bury the hatchet, because we don't want to see them argue with each other. I think it's kind of childish at this point. It was y'all that happened when y'all were like damn near my age. Y'all,
Yeah.
I'm 24, about to be 25. That was a long time ago. So I think they should just do like sit down interview with each other and just talk it out and apologize to each other, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be an immaturity level in one or both of those individuals to have
Right.
made this carry on for so long. They should have talked it out by now. I mean, the Power Rangers Comic Con circuit isn't that big, and both of them are doing it. So the fact that they like have actively not done the same stuff at the same time seems like a huge inconvenience, and also probably less lucrative for both of them. So I really feel like they're probably never going to bury the hatchet if they haven't done it by now, because I think probably that they're not mature enough to do so, which is
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, and which is unfortunate because JDF he doesn't even talk about Austin anymore. But over the past couple of years, I've seen Austin dissing him. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like the shoes on the other foot now. Like for
Yep.
years, JDF was bringing up Austin, and he kept talking about Austin being a jerk in the past. Even Austin admitted that he was, but he was young time. But now the shoe's on the other foot, and now Jason's not saying anything, and Austin's kind of taking shots at him. It
Yeah.
feels, this feels weird to me.
Yeah, it's very unprofessional. I feel like you should be able to not get along with someone and just kind of like agree, like, hey, we don't get along. We could still coexist in the same space and just be civil.
Right,
But I guess if you really, really don't get along with somebody, the rules change a little bit.
right. Which is weird because they have great chemistry on screen together.
They do. Yeah. They were very believably like friends. So
Right,
it's funny that they just really hated each other.
right. And I just hope that they pass things out because I want to see a reunion, and I would like to see Forever Pink actually.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to see that.
Yeah. And with things to wrap this up, because I don't know, what you seem like you're um I don't know what other plans you have today, but to wrap things up, what give me 10 of your favorite Power Ranger episodes.
Ooh, 10 of my favorite Power Ranger episodes. Dimensions in Danger. Um, I love the Secret Struggle and Beast Morphers. I like the Movie Madness plot arc in Time Force. Technically, that can I count that as 3 episodes? It's hard to remember specific episode names. I know I gotta have like a favorite episode of SPD and a favorite episode of Mystic Force. I don't know. I'm so bad with episode names. Um, and it all really, I binge it a lot, so it bleeds together really badly. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember like an individual episode of Mystic Force. I'm like, I've watched that twice all the way through, but I watched it in like 2 days both times. Of no concept of like what happens when. Yeah, that's about all I got. That was 5. I tried.
Well, I mean that's close enough. But I enjoyed talking to you. It was really fun. But what um what's where can everyone find you on your socials?
I'm Beauty Baba Yaga on almost all of my social media. But the Baba Yaga is BABAYAGHA. I added an H instead of just a GA. But yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I mostly just tweet random things that I think at 2 a.m. So it's not really on brand. And I have a YouTube, but I don't post as much as I should. So mostly I'm just on TikTok and Instagram.
Okay, so yeah, once again, I enjoyed talking to you. It was great to just get to know you, and hopefully we can do this again. But yeah, have enjoy the rest of your day, and um, whenever whenever you're available next time, I mean, it'd be great to talk anything nerdy with you again.
Okay. Yeah, I had a great time.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Until then, I'll see you next time. I'll see you on your TikTok.
All right. I'll see you around.
Okay. See you.
Bye.